Go.
Hi, welcome to my TED Talk. Today we're going to be talking about Frankenstein, chapters 11 through 15. And yeah.
And
Does someone else have the Google Classroom pulled up?
Yes, I do.
I do.
Also, I think you should break this into two parts because I feel like it's two separate things. Is that okay with all of you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first part, I'll read.
Hang on, we started at 9:03. Just keep that in mind.
Oh,
Here,
Amanda,
I will set a timer real quick.
Yeah. Before we read this, I'm gonna let Amanda get that timer. Or do you want me to just go, Amanda?
Just go.
Okay. Discuss the evidence Shelley provides about the innate goodness of the creature. Oh, I thought you were gonna.
Oh my god.
I thought you were gonna start by discussing.
All right.
Please.
Let's see. Okay, words. Anyway.
Austin, I was giving you a chance to go. Are you done?
I didn't know that I was supposed to go first.
Yeah, you can just go first. It's fine.
Go for it. Go crazy.
Me?
Yes, you.
Okay. So, what I observed was that the innate goodness, like he gathered the wood for the family and he cleared the snow for them so that they could get out of their house and everything, and that was just a big example of goodness that I saw that I can pull off the top of my head.
Yeah, I feel like all of those things that he did for these random people, I think definitely confirmed that he was inherently good. Yeah, like seeing all the things that he did, even though he definitely didn't have to in any way. Like he didn't owe anything to those people. He just wanted to. Because he
and also, I noticed that he went through all this effort to learn their language so as to make them more comfortable when he tried to introduce himself. Like, it didn't work, but he tried.
Well, I feel like that was a bit for himself, like so that they would accept him. So that was to make him feel better. Like I feel like it was in part to make them more comfortable, but I think Endgame it was for his own benefit.
Yeah, I see that.
Also, I was gonna because this whole section starts with him basically being born. So I feel like it's like akin to him being like a child, you know, and that would. Amanda's dying over there a little bit.
Yeah, because I have a thing.
So I felt like everything he did, like just how innocently he looked at nature and all of just regular things, and he didn't know how to interpret everything yet. He had to go into nature and realize that cold would be bad to him, that he had to get food, and just all of the things that he didn't understand that he had to, and that just reminded me of that he wasn't bad to begin with. Amanda.
Yeah.
I remember on page 107, 106 and 107, when he found out what fire was. I'm just so reminded of his childlike innocence, especially when he decides to stick, and I quote, "I thrust my hand into the live embers, but quickly drew it out again with a cry of pain," because he didn't know the fire was gonna hurt him, because he thought fire was good because it gave off warmth. But it's also bad because it hurts. It's kind of like how the inherent goodness of man.
A lot of warmth.
Oh, hey Amanda. Hey Amanda with the fire thing, because I was going to bring that up. I was also going to say with the whole Prometheus thing.
Yeah, you're right.
Because fire was innately, Austin, I don't know if you know Prometheus. Do I need to explain that?
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah, so
oh my god, you're blowing my mind. Hang on.
I did it! 3 minutes in and I already did it!
No, because in all the audiobooks, the subtitle is The Modern Prometheus, and I was like, you just blew my mind. I didn't even correlate that.
No, because it's with the fire stuff, we're supposed to understand that a whole with Victor giving fire and giving life is bad, but with the fire, we're supposed to with Prometheus, we're supposed to think that fire is bad, but with the monster, he doesn't make fire bad, he makes it good. He uses it for a good purpose instead of a bad purpose. And totally not a bad purpose later. What? Nothing. Anyway.
No, but Prometheus also uses it for a good purpose. He brings the humans warmth. Humans just suck.
Well, I feel like with the Prometheus thing, it was that fire was in that time like a god power, and the gods were like,
Yeah.
don't give the humans fire, and he was like, I'm gonna give it to them, and then I'm
Yeah,
pretty
and
sure
that's why he was chained on that mountain.
with that liver. No, but I feel like didn't the humans use it bad? Wasn't that the point of
I don't-
Prometheus, that they used it for bad stuff?
I think it was just the fact that he gave it to them at all.
Yeah, because you know how gods were in the past. They were all really
Like
mean to
some
each
old-
other.
Yeah, I was
It's
gonna
like
say
some
they
Old
had-
Testament stuff up in here.
Wait, hold on. I feel like we're getting a little bit off.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah. So does anybody else have anything to say about that part of the question, or should we go to the next part?
I just want to like kind of finish a bit of the fire part because it's like I was kind of like gonna relate it to, it's still kind of Prometheus-esque, but kind of like how humans used it to do bad things. It's like, crap, I forgot what I was gonna say. Okay, so I'm just gonna say something really weird real quick.
Were you gonna say like with society making them bad that?
Yeah, it's kind of like the fire relates to that like kind of portion. It's like inherently the fire is good, it produces warmth, but it ends up hurting the monster in the end, which is kind of like how the monster at first viewed society like, oh, society's gonna be nice, but in the end society was not nice.
Yeah.
Oh,
Another small detail that I just want to point out, it's not super relevant, but another like thing that I noticed about the monster that kind of emphasized his goodness and his innocence was the way that he talked about the animals around him, especially like the birds.
That's such a precious cinnamon roll.
yeah.
Yeah, but I thought that really like helped drive that point of his innocence.
Yeah, that reminds me because on 106, that's a spoon anyway.
106, yes.
On page 106, he said, sometimes I wish to express my sensations in my own mode, but the uncouth and inarticulate sounds which broke for me frightened me into silence again. And it just kind of reminds me of when like a kid tries to imitate the sounds of an adult, but gets really scared by the own sound that they made, so they just kind of shut up. Like, that just reminded me of like what Austin said with how he's like the monster was like all in reverence of the birds, and like he wanted to be like the birds, he wanted to sound pretty like the birds, but in all reality the monster's never going to be pretty, and that makes me sad.
Oh man, that's a good point. I was gonna say with the whole thing with the monster being like afraid, like the bird thing. I also have this picture of like this like giant 8-foot tall dude being afraid of like this tiny little bird. And it's like he has that goodness in him, but it's not like he has to be afraid of it, like that's a threat, but it's like he doesn't understand it, so he is. Also, man, that whole him not being beautiful like the bird, that hurts, man. I didn't really think about that. That's hurt.
These chapters were definitely meant to make us feel bad for him.
These chapters just hit me hard with that sympathy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think that's what the monster's goal was, at least towards Frankenstein. Yeah.
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 He wanted to make Frankenstein feel bad because he was so mean.
All right, so we done with the first part now.
Yes. Also, Austin, real quick, if you clicked on Amanda to focus on her, if you re-click on her, it'll make it focus on whoever's talking.
Oh, lit. Thanks.
Yeah. So next.
You looked it up.
Yeah. So yes. We focused on your cat when you weren't here, Amanda. Anyway.
Well, she's now in my bed, so you guys can't see her anymore.
Anyhow, does somebody else want to read the second part of the question?
I don't have it pulled up.
I'll do it.
There we go. Okay.
All right. Discuss how the creature's study of human society is affecting him, either positively or negatively. I don't know.
Read that again. I'm sorry.
Yeah. All right. Discuss how the creature's study of human society is affecting him, either positively or negatively.
Okay.
So two things. Sorry, were you about to say something?
No.
Okay, so I feel like the whole study of society, I guess you could interpret that as him just getting educated with all that reading and whatnot, and the language and whatnot. But I interpret that more so as him just watching humans and getting used to what humans were like. I don't know if there was a specific way you guys took that, or there was like him learning stuff, or him just watching people as his like study of human society.
Something that really stood out to me was like how he was watching them through the window of their house, and he was like studying their body language a lot because he didn't understand like their actual language yet. So he was really trying to interpret their emotions um, through like facial expressions and tone and things like that. And I think that helped him develop more complex emotions himself, whether that be for the better or for the worse. That's open to interpretation, but yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just either way, I feel like I don't think I'm bringing up a brand new thing. It'd be like it was both good and bad. Like I feel
Yeah.
like I don't mean to give the generic answer here, but I think it had both pros and cons to it. One of
Yeah,
which,
because
like,
sorry, go ahead.
I was saying one of which you started on, and you were probably about to say, but the whole him having like deeper, like more existentially thoughts.
Yeah.
Which is both a good thing, and I had a page where he was thinking that, but he was able to like think more,
Mm-hmm.
like instead of just like surface like I am hungry, I am cold. Like he was able to like question things and like how people felt and like the nature of his own existence.
Mm-hmm.
Which is both good because it makes you into a complex person, and bad because it makes him like hate his life and realize that everybody thinks he's hideous and will never be able to go into society.
Yeah, like it helped further his thoughts and discoveries about himself and the world around him, but it also made him very angry at the world around him, which is going to lead to bad things.
Which really sucks because it dampened on his innate goodness. Because, like, for following the philosophy of people are inherently good until society turns them evil. It's like, for example, page 114. It's like after he found out that, like, the family that he was, I guess, best word for it is stalking. The family he was pretty much stalking. It's like they were poor. They were in poverty. And then after the monster found that out, he was like. He said, but when I found out that in doing this, like when he was stealing like food from them, I inflicted pain on the cottagers. I abstained myself with berries, nuts, fruits, blah, 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 that he gathered himself. Like that showed his innate goodness because it's like he views the cottagers as his benefactors because those are the people he's learning about society from, how to talk, how to read, write, how to basically socially interact. And it just sucks because like at the end of chapter 15, when they finally reject him, I feel like that just goes completely crashing down, and it makes me feel really bad.
Yeah.
I had a lot of hope for that plan. Sorry.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting how for a good portion of these chapters he kind of described them as like godlike, and I strange because these like
hey Austin,
good
about Amanda, but your signal kind of died there for a minute.
Yeah, you went
I
completely
did not hear
robot.
anything you just said. I heard godlike, and then you died.
Oops. Yeah,
So
I think my Wi-Fi might be a little wonky.
Yeah, you're gone. Your pictures.
No,
wait.
wait.
Oh no. Can you hear me still?
Yeah, we can hear you still.
Okay, that's fine.
Just keep talking.
I'm just going to keep talking and hope it works. So I thought it was interesting how he viewed this family as almost godlike, how he described them, because I know from his eyes they were these like good, pure, intelligent creatures, but in the end they were still people, and I think he didn't really understand that until they reacted negatively towards him at the end of the chapter 15.
Yeah, I definitely think the moment that they rejected him was the like instant when he realized that people aren't innately good, and that like I don't even think he thought that like everyone was like all bad. I think he realized that people are complicated and that the world is terrible. But yeah.
Like, can we discuss the blind man real quick, though?
Oh boy.
It's like, there's a purpose to why he's blind.
I was gonna say, take out that How to Read Lit book real quick.
I would if it wasn't in a box in my garage right now. Anyway. But it's like, because of that wonderful book, we know that the old man is blind for a reason. Because it's like, blindness can, like, kind of alter somebody's perspective, and it alters the old man's perspective, and he doesn't look at the monster's outward appearance. He more kind of judges the monster based on how the monster is like being, like his mannerisms towards the old man. So he's like, "Oh, you need shelter? Come on in. You sound nice enough." And it's like, it proves that if we didn't have like the vision, like if we didn't have vision, if we were all just blind, we all just had to base each other off of our character, it shows how like much less prejudice would probably be in the world, because there's a lot of stereotypes and prejudice that we have against people based on appearance, and we see all of that in the monster, which really is sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also, with the whole him being blind and not judging the monster thing, it reinforced, I don't know if y'all remember the question from last week with the whole people are good until society makes them not good anymore thing. I felt like that man to me kind of represented society if it didn't make everything bad. I don't know if that makes sense or not, the way I worded that.
Kind of.
But, well, because it's like people are innately good and then society turns them bad. This like blind man, he was like untainted by the bad of society because he was unable to see. Like, I don't mean untainted by society in like a literal way. I mean like in a figurative, like he didn't hold the prejudice, like to go with the prejudice thing, he didn't hold the prejudice of society. So he didn't judge the monster.
I mean, I think he probably had some sort of predispositions about groups of people despite his blindness, because I know at the very end of chapter 15 when the monster is like grabbing at him and asking to like protect him, he's like no, he's like, who are you, basically. I mean,
to be fair, I feel like that's a pretty normal response to that.
Yeah,
though.
No, but I still think that like, no, I see what you mean though.
Like, I just think from his perspective, if a random man came into my house and was just like, yeah, like, I feel like that part of the reaction was, you know.
Yeah, I do think that, like, because of the monster's perspective, like, they seem to be good people, but they are people and they're probably not perfect, as shown.
That's interesting that you bring up the monster's bias in telling his own story, because it makes me think about how, like Amanda, you said before, he was basically stalking these people for, I forget how long it was like a year or so, or like 2 years, whatever.
It was a little over a year, I think.
Like, yeah, because it's like went through like 3 seasons, I think, 3 or 4.
Yeah, like if we think about it from not his perspective, what he did was he like stalked a family for a year and then went into their house and just expected them to like love him, basically.
To like know who he is.
Yeah, and to like have this deep appreciation for him that he had grown to have over the course of a year. So it's like, even though the reactions are obviously from his face, I feel like I had my point and it left. It was gone right out the window.
If you forget yours, can I say a thing?
I'll go for it, please.
So, something that I wanted to bring up was that the monster, like, obviously thinks he's some sort of, like, wretched creature. He's so far from being human. But he's, like, kind of, like, human to the point that it's, like, painful. Because his emotions and his actions seem to be very human. He's just very alone, and he was brought into his existence in a strange manner, which can really mess someone up. But he still does have, from what we can tell, he is made from human parts, and he does think like a human for the most part. So I think he has a bias that people are better than him and always will be better than him. So he has this self-hatred. So he can't see himself as human because humans are like on another level above him. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That actually kind of makes me want to slide into one of my questions. Is that okay?
Oh man, I was gonna do that, but go for it.
All right. So on page 132, the monster ends up comparing himself to Adam when like he starts thinking about like, you know, the creation story thing. I think that's what it's called. Anyway. And he says, like, okay, so he had come forth from the lands of God, a perfect creature, happy and prosperous, blah, 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 blah. And like his creator was all cool and in superior nature. But I was wretched, helpless, and alone. Many times I considered Satan as the fitter emblem of my condition, for often like him I was viewed. When I viewed the bliss of my protectors, the bitter gall of envy rose within me. So it's at this point we see like a really big change of character for the monster. So I was wondering, what like change do we actually see here, and why does he specifically compare himself to Adam?
Okay, so I know you're looking for like a deep reason as to why he compares himself to Adam. But I want to first bring the surface reason why he compares himself to Adam is because that paragraph is talking about Paradise Lost, which I don't know if you know what that's about, but it's like a really giant, it's like an epic poem that's about the whole like Adam and Eve thing. So at that point, that was one of the only like 3 books that he had read, like full-on books that he read. So I feel like from his perspective, it was one of the only stories he had.
Like that was the only point of reference.
Yeah, like that whole story of Adam was one of the only ones he read, and he identified with him to a point, and then it changed.
Yeah,
but that's
something that I noticed that I think really made him compare himself to Adam in that respect is because he was learning about how humans are born and how they're like made by their mothers and stuff, and he didn't have that. He wasn't born, he was created. So I think he compared himself to Adam in that way because Adam was also created. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we actually talked about this in our last one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we actually literally basically asked this question, like the whole Adam thing, so I'm a little bit we're gonna retread what we did last week.
Yeah, but
it's like I don't know what to say here.
It's like I have a new point that I wanted to bring up with it.
Then
like,
you should have started with that then.
Well, I'm gonna bring it up now because I have a better understanding of things. Thanks. Anyway.
Yes. I also want to bring up that he brought up the Satan thing again. Look at the whole fallen angel thing of how, that.
Mm-hmm.
But I also just want to say a quick thing. I think it's also another way that he is separating himself from humans because he thinks he can never be as good as them. So anyway.
No, because it's like he was talking about God being like a good creator that was like very benevolent and did everything right for Adam, and then it's like you have to kind of think back to Victor, certified a-hole. Not gonna lie. It's because it's like basically in like each scenario, God stayed with his creation while Victor fled from his creation and fled from his problem, fled from his mistake. So it's like that's how I can kind of like that's why I feel like he ends up comparing himself to Adam, why he's jealous of Adam, because he wasn't abandoned by his creator, but the monster was. So that's how I kind of saw that comparison going.
Sorry, I'm
just thinking a lot during that.
Yeah, you said a lot of things, and I'm just absorbing it.
Yeah, no, go ahead, it's fine.
No, I think my connection is bad. It broke up during part of that, but I heard most of it.
Oh yeah, that was all I wanted to say.
Well, I'm rereading the paragraph, and I'm still on the whole that, like, I agree with you that he's envious of Adam, and that the fact that Adam was like made as like the perfect human or whatever, being the first human, and all of that, and he looks at Adam, and he's like, I see these similarities in him, but then he looks at how Adam's supposed to be like this perfect guy, and he's like, but I can't be him because I'm not perfect like he was, and it's interesting that he goes and he turns to like Satan as being like, but I relate to him because he's not perfect. Like he's this thing that I guess like was perfect and then became bad and awful and horrible.
Like the monster.
A lot of self-hate, which like there's a lot of self-hate. It makes sense, but like still, it's interesting.
I mean, if everybody's done on this point, can I just segue right to one of my questions? Because that's a very good lead into one of mine. So, as Austin has just said, he obviously views himself really negatively. Like, really negatively, especially, like, progressively in these chapters. How much of this do you think's external, like people's reactions to him, and how much of this do you think's just because he's now able to express thoughts like deep, like he's able to express deeper thoughts? Like how much of this is he hears what people say about him and it becomes what he thinks of himself versus just what he thinks of himself?
Ooh.
Because it's like, no, because it's like at first I thought it was just all personally just people's views of him, but then there was like, I forget the page, but there was like one scene where it was like he looked into like a puddle or whatever and he saw
I know what you're talking
and
about.
he knew that he didn't look like everybody. Like it wasn't because people said he was ugly, it was just because he looked at people and he saw them and then he saw himself and he was like he was cognizant that it didn't match and that he viewed that as being bad, that he didn't look like everybody else.
Yeah. I think, not to be depressing, but I think that's another thing that kind of ties him into being like really like human. Just all that, expectations and self-hate about yourself. That's a very human thing. So I don't know what else to say.
Well, I got the thought of, well, what if once he finally started understanding why people were reacting the way he did after like he learned language and learned like social interaction, once he finally understood those things and then saw himself in the reflection, that's when everything clicked that he wasn't like everybody else and that's why everybody hated him. Like I think it's like a combination of him knowing that he doesn't match and knowing people's reactions towards him for the most part. I think it's a combination of him learning about all that is what makes him hate himself in a sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's all I got on that.
That's all I got on that. I didn't think that would take that long. It was a thought that I thought about. Wait, Austin, you haven't asked a question, have you? You want to throw something in?
God, I didn't write them down. I had them in my brain, but I didn't write them down because I'm stupid.
Sure we get like an even,
Yeah, it's okay. We got like 3.5 minutes. You got this, dude.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. Somebody else say one of their questions, and I'll try to think of one of mine because I had them in my brain.
What? I got this, Amanda.
You want to do it? Okay, go ahead.
Why does the creature think that the family will have a positive reaction to him? Because everyone has been really negative towards him, but for some reason he thinks the family won't be. Why does he think
well, let's see. So for the most part, whenever he's observing the interactions of the family, he sees the family being nice to each other. And like he didn't see... Okay, let me rephrase this. So when he first enters the town, everybody freaks out when they see him. But in a sense, they were the first to approach him as opposed to him approaching them first. But like vice versa, when the monster approaches first, this is before the family actually sees him. So it's like when he's watching them, all he sees is the good that's between all of them. And he feels that, hey, if they're good to each other, they'll be good to me because, they haven't seen him. And he's like, he has it in his head that, hey, if I show them that I'm a good person, that they won't freak out and they'll see me for me kind of thing. But that just, we know how that one turned out.
Yeah.
So
I just had a thought.
What's your thought?
What if, how they live like isolated from society?
Mm-hmm.
What if that was supposed to be like, he thought that because they weren't part of the group of, like, what if he took everybody hating him because of his face and related that to society, and he thought that these people outside of society wouldn't have the same bias that everybody else did.
One moment, please.
Oh, there goes Amanda. It's just me and you now, Austin. Oh. Okay.
Okay, cool.
Was that related to what I said, or is that just you living?
No, that was related to what you said. You just Lauren, why do you do this?
Whether that be on like a literal or figurative, like not being part of society thing, but like I guess it could also be like figurative, like them not being part of the society, which is the place where it crushes the goodness.
And it's because they weren't a part of the bigger whole, he thought maybe he could fit in, but it didn't work. We have 1 more minute. Austin, go.
I have my question. So, obviously, he observes the family's lives and all their emotions, and he sees that a lot of the times they're happy, but they're also really sad and angry, and he sees them cry multiple occasions. But he still sees them as these perfect beings, and he wants to help them so that they're not sad. And my question was just, where did this sense of empathy come from?
I would say, here, Lauren, you can go.
I think that ties into the whole like that he's inherently good thing. That if you're theoretically, if you are inherently good, then you want to help people who look like they need help. So if he is good, which we're all agreeing that he was good, then he sees these people in need and he has like this instinct to help them. At least that's how I interpreted that.
Yeah. No, but something that I kind of got caught on was that he was inherently good, but while he was inherently good, he wasn't able to develop these complex thoughts and emotions. But as he was able to develop them, he started becoming not so good. And empathy, in my eyes, is more of a complex feeling. So I just, do you know what I'm trying to get at? Like,
I get what
it's hard to see how.
I have an explanation.
Okay.
I'll make it as quick as I can. So I feel like there's like 2 forms of empathy that the monster shows. There's like the really basic empathy of, oh, I can feel that they're sad and I'm kind of sad too because they're sad. But once he finally starts learning emotions, that's when he has complex empathy, where it's like, oh, they're sad because they're poor and I'm taking from them. Maybe I should change my behavior and instead help them because I'm basically living next to their house and they don't know I'm here. So let me just help out the people that are my benefactors. So it's like, it's kind of like how when a 3-year-old like knows you're crying, knows you're sad, doesn't know why you're sad, but they come over and like kind of touch your face and be like, it's okay, please don't cry. Like, I feel like that's the monster in a sense. Like if we're imagining him as a little kid trying to comfort someone who's older who's crying.
Wait, so you mean like at the very beginning he just saw them when they were sad and he was sad, but then as he got more complex thoughts, he started like doing all that stuff for him, like got them the twigs, and he like knew not to eat their food.
Like he realized why they're sad and like started kind of
got you.
So that all of him, like all the little things he did to help them, symbolized how his thoughts were becoming more complex.
Yay, that's time!
That was entirely unnecessary.
Oh.